Hello everyone, it's your friendly neighbor Luka, and I know I'm no gimmick, but he's still in his training arc and I can't seem to get a hold of him, so I'm gonna be stepping in for this episode. And if you don't already know, I'm more of a PvE gamer, so I'm gonna have to call for some backup. I think I have the perfect person in mind though, so...
Hello, Uncle Valky here.
Hey Valk, it's Luka.
Oh hey, what's up?
Are you busy right now?
I'm in RTA, but what do you need?
I need help taking care of something.
Taking care of something, huh? Yeah, sure, I can help.
Yeah, but can you also make sure to wear your best outfit?
Best outfit, huh? Alright, you got it.
Thanks, see you soon, bye. Okay, see you soon, Valk.
Supermaid Valky's here. Yeah, you said to come and then bring my best outfit?
Yeah, I like it.
We're taking care of a problem, yes?
Taking care of this episode.
Oh, episode. Yeah, look, we can do that. Haha.
Thanks.
Yeah, episode.
So let's take a first look into our highlight from this year's E7 WC. Here we have Retry Ever versus Crying Leader in the top 8 of the Korea server qualifiers. Down a match, Retry Ever needed to make a comeback to continue on in the tournament. Through the draft phase, however, things were looking a little rough and it appeared he was lacking a lot of damage. With his Valiant banned out by Crying Leader, Retry Ever was basically relying solely on his Zio to take care of his opponent. And that's a huge issue, seeing that Crying Leader's biggest threat was Spectre Tenebria.
So let's break down some things here real quick. Crying Leader's running a draft commonly known as Tank Down, which focuses mainly on safeguarding one singular damage dealer. Spectre Tenebria is a great choice for this role because she has a special ability that keeps her permanently untargetable so long as her other teammates are still on the field. This means Retry would have to bring heroes that can target all enemies or single target hard hitters and break down each tanks one by one to reveal the Spectre Tenebria. Spectre Tenebria also gets stronger as other heroes are taken out of combat, but we'll come back to that later. So Retry's only DPS unit here is the Zio, who is used mainly as a pacemaker. So at the start of combat, Zio pushes himself up by a great amount, which will secure the very first turn for him. So when he uses his ultimate skills, Zio will silence and target the heroes and prevent them from using other skills for a whole turn. Additionally, he'll grant himself a special buff known as Deify that's pretty much doubling his damage and makes him twice as tanky. That said though, most players opt to increase his effectiveness instead of damage so he can push back a critical target on the opponent's team.
So that's not what Retry actually had in mind, and he was confident that his Zio was all he needed in order to take the match. So how did the match go?
Well, when Zio has Deify up, his basic attack gains a flashy follow-up attack known as Disappear, which deals some serious damage to Crying Leader's heroes. While it lasts only for 3 turns, Retry Ever cleverly uses the artifact EpicSeven, which can reduce a hero's cooldowns to ensure Zio keeps cycling his skills without a moment of downtime. One by one, they all fall to Zio, and eventually Crying Leader opts to throw in the towel and move on to Game 3.
And I mean, if you thought that was a crazy subversion, have a look at this next clip. This clip takes place during the Asia server qualifiers with Wild Wind facing off against...
That's a乐队, but we can just call him LB for short.
LV, in the middle of his draft, makes an aggressive pivot and chooses Ran, looking to go first and secure the first turn.
Now, Ran's one of those units with the highest base speed in the game, and he has a kit designed to buff his team and also land debilitating debuffs on his opponents. For example, that defense break, which multiplies damage like crazy. And for this, you always see him on a speed set with an offensive artifact such as Sword of Summer Twilight, or everyone's favorite, RNL. Ran never loses.
Wild Wind catches a whiff of LV's plan and drafts Zio to guarantee the first turn for himself. The match starts, Zio confidently secures the first turn, and Ran was falling very far behind and holding a defensive artifact.
Did that say Proof of Valor on Ran?
Oh, LV's bait works out perfectly for him, transforming Ran from this highly aggressive speed opener into a tanky disruptor, and now he's pulling a game of chicken against Wildwind's Meteor Coeric. Because if Meteor Coeric puts up the attack and immunity buff, swing, immediately Ran slices that away, defense break and Stigma comes in. This pays off greatly for LV, letting him stay toe-to-toe against Wildwind rather than letting Meteor Coeric grant the team a huge advantage. And it all comes down to the wire. Everybody's getting knocked out left and right, all except the Apocalypse Robbie and the Spectre Tenebria. Apocalypse Robbie has the turn, looking like all of LV's efforts were for naught, and single hit from Apocalypse Robbie.
Let's see.
The frenzy?
Oh,
She survives!
to kiss my...
She lives! Oh, but she lives with just 300 HP. LV takes it home with one more hit, keeping him alive in the tourney. Remember that passive we were talking about before? Well, those were the extra stats she gained, and that's exactly what she needed to clutch out the match. An impressive bait and an even more impressive win from LV.
I mean, if that first match was a freakout, then this Ran was a complete ankle breaker. For our last highlight, let's take a look into one of the biggest upsets during the tournament. In the final match of the Japan qualifiers, where player Marguerite was up against last year's champion, Phantom. What really makes this an exciting match is how Phantom knocked out Marguerite during last year's same regional qualifiers. Marguerite is now back with a vengeance and made it his goal to beat Phantom this year. Phantom still looks a bit shaken, looking for his footing as he drafts aggressively against Marguerite. Phantom starts the match with his bread and butter aggressive playstyle. With a solid draft in hand, Phantom decides to use a selection of meta heroes with Zio and Amid. However, Phantom didn't seem to account for the one hero who could stop all of the tempo from an Amid-centric composition that can break. Politis.
So Politis is a fire mage who's built around countering heroes who uses non-attacking skills and restricting heroes who like to cycle turn quickly, meaning they like to take lots of turns. Marguerite decides to also put Politis on the artifact Abyssal Crown, which is notorious for RNG stunning any opponent she comes into contact with. And you see here Politis is putting in the work the moment the match starts. She instantly halts all momentum Phantom is trying to bring by stunning Ahmed before she can even take her second turn, and just staring down on Aiden before she has a chance to strike. Quickly, Phantom decides to just concede and move on to the next match.
So, with his back against the wall, Phantom drafted some heroes that excelled in both defense and offense alike. Unfortunately, he was unable to effectively create a clear win condition for himself due to his units being too well-rounded and unable to find synergy with each other. Margaret recognized Phantom's need to lean on a single DPS to survive throughout the match and used this to his advantage.
So Phantom struggled to maintain his initial pace with Conqueror Lilius and Faithless Lidica, while Marguerite exploited the lack of synergy by patiently waiting out the debuffs to stage an immaculate comeback. Marguerite had his sights set on taking out Apocalypse Robbie, but instead opted to knock out Last Rider Kraut first and overtake the pace of the match before Savior Aiden cuts Apocalypse Robbie right in half, charging his way into victory, securing a spot in the E7WC main stages, and completing his goal for this year, taking down last year's winner.
And that's everything we have for today's episode. If you want to see your own clip featured in a future War episode, make sure to check out the description box for a submission link. Even if you don't get featured, you'll receive 3 leaves for a successful submission. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's episode. I hope Gimmick makes it back in time to at least watch the E7WC finals. And I mean, as Gimmick would want to say, peace
And war.
So Valk, do you have to get back home to play RTA?
No, kid, can I stay in your guys' broom closet?
No, you got
Y'all release Lethe! She's got 10
We are the
Oh!